All right, let's get started. So, the first topic that we're going to delve into is why I believe God did not create the universe. I know for a lot of you, that is probably going to be a big slap in the face, considering that you've been conditioned to believe that God created everything. And I'm going to explain to you why I believe that is not true. And then I'm going to ask that you turn on your internal guidance system, like we talked about in my intro video, to decide, is this true for me? Does it resonate with me? Or do I not believe this? And then does this trigger me? Now, I ask that you keep an open mind. If this does trigger you, anything that I say, if it does trigger you in any way, I ask you to be open and to take a good look inside of yourself and ask some questions. Why is this triggering me? What kind of belief system am I holding on to that is stopping me from understanding a new perspective and growing? Because the ultimate goal of the universe, of God, of Source, is to grow, is to expand, is to reach the farthest reaches of the void. God, Source, whatever term you want to give it, does not want to be stagnant. It does not want to be a finite entity. It believes in infinite. It believes in expansion. It believes in growth. And unfortunately, the universe as it was set up from the beginning is more in the old way, is phasing out, but it was created more in a finite way, and I will explain that as well in another video. But for this video, I am going to explain to you what was shown to me in a vision by God, Source, whatever entity you want to call it. It showed me how consciousness split, the original split. So, buckle up, here we go. All right, so I get a lot of visions, I get a lot of information directly from Source, and I work at that level, dealing directly with the original split consciousness, the original thoughts, the original beliefs. I have the ability to expand in the mind, in the consciousness beyond the human consciousness of Rebecca. That's where I get Genesis, my quote-unquote soul name. And I will go into another video on why the difference between a soul and other levels of entities within the universe. But here's what was shown to me. God, Source, whatever term name you want to give it, showed a blob of gray energy. It looked like plasma to me. And then from that big blob of energy, it pulled from itself a part of itself. It was a smaller part of itself, and it was within its hands. And then it pulled itself apart like this and created the right and the left hand of God as we know it. Also, if you look at the current setup of the U.S., you have the far right and the far left. There's no coincidence that the United States is a mirror of the universal setup, actually. And I'm going to explain that here in a little bit. So God just created the first split in consciousness, and it's actually the original sin, if you will, as well, because consciousness then realized I am no longer a part of Source, the original Source. And then from there, this consciousness began to think for itself. So we're still in the God dimension, the God plane at this point, but then consciousness started splitting itself again. So the right hand split into another level of consciousness, and the left hand split into another level of consciousness. And that's when the first original soulmates were created. The first split consciousness are the twin flames, because there's still the flame of God, and there is the flame in any additional split in consciousness, but it's not the extent of these twin flames. These twin flames, they hold a very high level of awareness, of understanding, and of energy. They have the ability to create massive change at this level that then trickles down into the material plane. Because despite what you may have learned or been conditioned to believe, life did not start in the material plane. humans were not around before God. It's just not a fact. The fact is that Source, God, was around and then started to create those that created every level and every dimension that we see today. And this has been going on for countless eons. Like, there's no way to measure how many eons of time that has been, and there's no time. But for perspectives of explaining to you, this has been going on before humans were even a thought. So back to the split in consciousness. We've got the original split, the right and the left hand of God, and then consciousness splits again, which is the original soulmates, which ended up being the firstborn angels. And then the ethereal plane was created. The ethereal plane is where we have thought. The God plane is where we have intentions, because energy is neutral. It's just energy. It flows. It's like water. Water doesn't really have a polarity. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. In this case, the energy just flows, and you, with your intentions, decide where it's going to go. So it starts with intention, then it goes into thought, and then the ethereal plane was created. And from that next split in consciousness, we have multiple splits, and then additional splits in consciousness. And it just keeps splitting and fragmenting. And then we have the archangels that are created, and then we have the angels that are created, and then the angels actually end up creating the souls. And the souls are in the astral plane, which is ruled by emotion. And in the astral plane, those souls then created the mortals, which humans are immortal, aliens are mortals, and they're in the material plane. So those are the different dimensions, the 4 dimensions, or planes of existence. We all have different opinions on the multiple levels. Some people think there's 12 planes or there's 8 planes. The reason why there it is because of where you're at on the hierarchy. So your level of visibility into the hierarchy of the universe is based on where you rank within that system, right? So let's look at it like a business. A business has its salespeople or its entry-level workers who are typically at the bottom, and then you have your executive level and your CEOs at the top. Well, the CEO is going to have a totally different perspective of what the rest of the company looks like from a more of a top-down perspective. The workers are going to have more of a bottom-up perspective. And depending on where those workers are, if they're middle managers, well, they're already going to have a different level of experience and a different level of awareness and what's the word I'm thinking of? They're going to be able to say that I'm on the 8th plane, when in reality there's only 8 planes because you are 8 rungs down from the original split. So I hope that makes sense. But from my perspective, again, I ask that you turn on your own internal guidance system. From my perspective, there are 4 planes or 4 dimensions that it's just with wherever you are within that dimension or that plane, you will experience different levels based on where you are at specifically. And we can get more into that later, but I wanted to, the topic for this particular video is why I believe that God did not create the universe. Because of the way it was set up. When consciousness split itself, consciousness, which yes was a fragment of God, right? Not God itself, but a fragment of God. And then it started continuing to fragment. And the original creation of the universe, per God's will, was to be created in love, in unity, as a oneness, a wholeness, and an understanding. But as many of you know, hopefully all of you understand, that is not how we live life here. We live life with polarity, with division, with separation, with hate, and with anger, and with love. We have all sides of the spectrum, of the pendulum, if you will. So what happened is when the split in consciousness happened, and it split again, and consciousness started to think for itself. It started to create core belief systems, thoughts. It started to have emotions. It started to live, and then it also realized it had free will. And then once consciousness realized it had free will, the split in consciousness realized it had free will, it decided, or at least one of the two, right? Because you have the right hand and left hand, and then you have the firstborns. One of them decided that instead of joining and creating life in love and unity and oneness, I'm going to do it my way, and we're going to add hate instead. And that hate mixed with the love, it basically created what we have today, which is a finite, polarized system, where there's every man for himself. There's no one truly understands or even has the capacity to understand true love. It's virtually impossible, because this interaction that began from the beginning, this creation of the universe the way that it was, made it so that any fragment that was created underneath of it could not get any higher or ascend out of the polarity. Because in order to do that, if you're a human being here and you're trying to heal yourself and become more whole and more one within self, you will have a very difficult time, because yes, you may heal the things within your own personal life, but if the beginning split in consciousness that created all of life isn't healed first, then anything down here is never going to heal. It's going to have the illusion that it's healing parts of itself, but it will never become whole, because the original creation of the universe is not whole. And so my question to you is, would God create a universe or a species of beings that had the ability to destroy each other and hate? Because the thing is if life destroys itself, then it never expands and grows. It continues to stay in a loop of creation, destruction, creation, destruction, creation, destruction. It never expands into massive creativity, massive growth, multiple universes, multiple realities. And that's all because that original creation, which was created in hate and love, polarized. So God would not do that. God is an observer, takes an observer perspective, and would not choose one over the other, because God loves all of its children. God is neutral. I will say this, though, that God does not want to see life die. He doesn't want to continue to keep this cycle going. We are moving into a whole new world or a whole new universe in creating the way that it was supposed to be created from the beginning, which is the two entities that split from the beginning coming back together and creating again in love, and joining in love, where the two become one, and that love, that divine love, is then expanded out and trickled out to the rest of the universe. That's the new, I think they call it the new earth, the new world. To me, it's the new universe, because earth is just a very, very small part of the greater whole. And for me, the way that the way I work, and what I've been trained and my purpose being here, is I work at these higher levels, these upper echelons. I have the ability and have taken my consciousness to the original split, to the original root belief systems where all of this started, and I started undoing all of this old conditioning, these old belief systems that have been holding the universe in this finite system. That I've been doing for years. One day I'm hoping that I'll meet my other half and then we can work together to create the new. For now, I'm just continuing to work on myself, getting this information out to others, and then bringing more people in so that we can continue to work on this, not only on a micro level, but also on a macro level, because they do mirror each other. So that's why God did not create the universe, because God split from itself, and that split is what created the universe. Now, God is the universe, the energy that is within all of us. But I will say there are individuals out there that don't believe in God, that are godless. They are empty and hollow inside, and it's not something that they believe in, and that's okay. They have a right to exist and believe whatever it is they want to believe. This is my belief system. This is what I've been seen. This is what I've seen and I've been shown. This is what I do. If it resonates with you, fantastic. If not, that's fantastic too. I'm not here to change anybody's mind. Oh, that's not true. I love changing minds, but I'm not here to convince you of what you believe is right or wrong. You have to do that for yourself. So now, if you enjoy this content, if you would, please like or share. I would love to hear your comments, any questions that you may have. If you'd like to book a session with me, I am an intuitive. I do read energy. I also am a healer. I can tap into energy anytime, anywhere. I do coaching. I do also help with blocks, but you can check out a little bit more below. If you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate you tuning in today. Have a good day.